I researched a few schools. Emily used to go to Mila in Merritt Island, and she was in the ESC program there. I ended up finding that program through Child Find, and that was recommended from her preschool teacher. She used to go to La Petite in Merritt Island also. So it was sort of a progression from starting at La Petite and then realizing it wasn't quite the right fit for her. Really liked the school, really liked what they were doing, but Emily was struggling there behaviorally. It was very difficult for her. So they directed me to Child Find, and they did a few different evaluations for Emily. First, they did just a general one, and then they recommended a more in-depth hour-long, or 2-hour-long actually, behavioral analysis for her. So then that led me to the program at Mila, and so we ended up at Puzzle Box because I looked at our local school, which is Cocoa Beach, and I liked the teacher a lot. She seemed like she would have been very capable, but the program there, she would have been sort of repeating everything she'd done in pre-K. This is for kindergarten. I looked at that school, and it just wouldn't have been the right fit for Emily. She would have been bored there. She would have been acting out. I could tell immediately. Even just taking her there to see the school, she was already kind of like headed that way, and she hadn't even started yet. So I was just, saying, okay, well, I need to explore their options. And her teacher from Mila actually recommended that I come look at Puzzle Box. She had heard good things from other teachers, other people that she had been sent here, I guess. And so I came for the tour. And this was, I forget what year it was. It was before COVID, so it was probably the year before. So it was probably 2019 I came for a tour.
Okay.
And I was really impressed with what I saw, and I really liked everything that I had seen. I really liked the teachers. I just sort of poked my head in a little bit, looked in the classrooms, and I just had this gut feeling that this was the right place for Emily. So it was just something that I kept in the back of my mind, when we were looking at schools. But this was the only school that I looked at that was sort of in that specialized area. And I don't think back then there really was that many schools, really to choose from, otherwise. So I was looking at going to our local school, which would have been an easier drive for me. I drive about 40 minutes one way to get here. So I do a lot of driving through my day. But, the commute was kind of not really on my mind when I was thinking about the best place for Emily. I knew she would definitely grow here, and she has. So a lot of her behavior, a lot of elopement, a lot of aggression. Thinking back now, she's so different now that it seems like it's like talking about a different person, to be honest. But there was a lot of, physical aggression toward peers, toward teachers, anyone with an authority figure. She was definitely butting heads with the leader of the school, who would try to come in and sort of smooth things over with her. And there was a lot of, she had definitely a lot of transition difficulties. So she had a hard time going from one thing to the next. You could maybe give her a prompt, ahead of time and say, but they weren't really doing that. So they would just tell her, she would be playing with something, and then they would be like, that's over. Then move on to the next step, And they did have a schedule, but sometimes they would change it on her, and she definitely did not like that. And I'm trying to think what else they told me. Sorry, this was a while ago. So
That's right.
yeah,
No problem.
so she definitely, they rearranged the classroom. That was something that they did. They had everything set up in a certain way, and then one day they went in and they just switched everything everywhere. All the cubbies were a different spot. The tables and chairs were different located. Everything was just kind of like, in her mind, flipped upside down. And she did not, she just did not handle that well. Just lots of meltdowns. That was, constant meltdowns was a big thing with her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you getting lots of phone calls? Were you like...
Well, she was only there 3 hours.
Okay.
So they didn't call me all the time, but they had an app similar to how we have Class Dojo here. They had an app where they would message me things that were going on. And then when I pick her up, of course, they would tell me, how her day. They had a sheet where they would fill out, and then she had like a lot of comments, about her behavior. So eventually they tried a specialized program for her there, actually, and then they tried that for about a month, and then they still weren't really seeing the progress that they were hoping to see. So that's when they directed me to Child Find.
Gotcha.
And that was in Vieira. I think I went there in Vieira.
Long?
Yes, definitely difficult. I tried to be strong for her because I thought that was a really good thing to show, support and to show her kind of an example of how things should be. But it was definitely draining. It was definitely exhausting. I can say that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so definitely the fact that she no longer seems to have these big issues with transitions. That was a huge change that I saw in Emily. Before, like her getting home from school routine, take off your shoes, go use the bathroom, change your clothes, all those things, that would take an hour. That would have taken an hour. Now she'll get that done in like 5 minutes. I don't have to hardly even say anything. She'll just come in, she knows what she has to do, and she'll just do those things. And it's an amazing thing to see, and the progression of that. That's like my number one thing I've noticed was the transitions, that she can now handle them so much better. But then of course the other things I noticed, a lot less aggression. She really doesn't seem to have that going on anymore. I'm not worried. I'm not trying to like protect my face, anymore.
There's no response blocking at home anymore.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of that happened before. But yeah, transitions and routine changes. So routine changes are a big one. When she has a routine, she loves it. She's not really good with introducing a new routine, and that definitely, with the ABA help, that changed drastically. Yeah. Okay, challenges were definitely, I would say top one would be all the meltdowns that she used to have. And these are full body, arms flailing meltdowns. I mean, this is like not...
I won't ask you to demonstrate.
Yeah, no, I won't demonstrate. Yeah, so those challenges, that was a really big challenge. So overcoming those, I mean, it's been an amazing thing to see her grow and to see her overcome them. We just used to try to contain her as best we could. I mean, we just put her into a room and then try to have that be her safe space. She'd have, she used to have a princess castle tent in there, and she would go in there and calm down, and that would work most of the time. But yeah, so that was a big thing. The meltdowns. I noticed that. I mean, that's definitely something that stands out in my mind from a big change, and being something that's to overcome for sure. Trying to talk through it with her as best I could. Even if she was very upset, she would still always be, as you know, Emily, she's very vocal, so she would always be expressing herself that way. Even if she was in the middle of having a meltdown, it would be very loud, but she would be communicating that way. So I mostly just talking it through with her, and making sure that she knew I was there for her. And I would sometimes just sit with her in the room, and I didn't actually even talk to her some of the time. I would just let her kind of move through whatever she was moving through, but just let her know that I was there for her. Having that, face to face and having that contact really helped me understand it, because I didn't really know much about ABA before we came here. When Emily first started here, we hadn't enrolled her in the kaleidoscope interventions part of the school at that time. And part of the reason I wanted to do this recording was to help other parents who are prospective parents maybe hear a little bit about it before they actually enroll their child, because I didn't know anything about it before, and then once we started, I was like, oh well, we should have been doing this right from day one, right? But I didn't know much about it. So well, I would tell them that what it stood for, the applied behavioral analysis, and then they would ask me, what is that? And I would say definitely, I would say a hands-on approach to helping your child move through very difficult situations. That's what I would say, because that's how it helped us. Okay, so I think one of the things that they should know is that even if they think their child doesn't need ABA, I would say they do need it. Because it helps so much with her. She originally didn't seem like she needed it, so that's why we didn't go down that path. But then things came out. I think after a month or so, I think she settles. The thing with Emily is when she settles in a new circumstance, she's usually like on her best behavior, and then she settled in, and then she was just testing everybody. And then the behaviors were coming out. I mean, there was a lot of, standing on a desk, just sort of really out there things.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I think we're still kind of reeling from the first 8 years. So I'm not sure how the next, 8 to 10 years. We're not sure exactly where we'll send her after she leaves this school. I've heard good things about Legacy, so probably we'll just transition her there. I think that would probably be the recommendation, I'm assuming that everyone would say. But that's still a few years away from now, so I'm not sure. But I definitely feel like I want to keep her in this family. Mm-hmm. So my advice would be, I think, to have an open mind, to keep your mind as open as possible, because when they first sat me down and told me, the direction that they wanted me to go with Emily, it was a little bit unsettling, because you have this idea of what your child's situation is going to be. You find them a really good pre-K program, and you think, oh, this is great, this is like school, she's really late, she's intelligent. I knew she needed more stimulation than just like a regular daycare place. All of that was great, except for then when the behaviors came, they were like caught off guard, didn't know what to do. And so just keeping an open mind. I know it can be hard on families if parents don't agree with the initial advice that you're given. Sometimes it can be hard to follow right away, especially when they're directing you toward like a special needs program. That can be a difficult thing, especially if you never really thought about it, which I hadn't at the time up until someone mentioned it to me. I just figured, well, she's just difficult, and you just sort of handle it. But then you realize if you want her to be successful, and in my case, you want your child to be successful in the world. In my case, that's a her. Then I wanted her to be successful. That she needed more support, and she needed that. Something that I couldn't give her. Something that they couldn't give her. But they luckily directed me in the right direction. Led me to the right place. So I would say that. Yeah. So I didn't think before that she was going to be able to really like fully integrate into the world, like as it is. I just thought that she wouldn't be able to handle so many things, and now I'm feeling that with all the support that she's been given, that she would be able to do that. So like mastering living on her own or finding a career, these were all things that I was really worried about when we first started. I thought she's not going to be able to take on all these things as she gets older, But now that I've seen her take on so many things and run with them, I think that I'm not too worried about that anymore.
Good. Hey, Mom. How was your day?
Aww. Say hi to the camera.
You did the same thing. They're like,
Go ahead, it's recording.
Having therapists can help you try to reach those goals that you might not be able to quite reach yet, and with some practice with them, you'll eventually reach those goals that you wanted, and then you finally can do what that was holding you back from.
Nice.